Oh, guys, we've got a few escapees today. Makes me sad. I'll probably just eat them off the stove, to be honest. Hey everyone, welcome back to my Earth Friendly Kitchen. I'm Maria, your host, and today we are making an elote inspired flatbread. So if you don't know what elote is, it's like a Mexican street corn. It's just grilled corn, but it's zhuzhed up with some Mexican crema spices and just all around umptiousness. But I like to do it sometimes as like a flatbread if I'm having like a party or bringing it for a dish. And so Cinco de Mayo is coming up. And so I'm going to be bringing this to my coworkers for Cinco de Mayo. And it's going to be a big hit. It always is. So we're starting out with 2 cups of flour, just 2 cups right into your bowl. And then we're going to take some baking powder. Now, we're not using yeast, and that is pretty much the difference between a flatbread and a pizza dough, right? Because pizza dough takes yeast and it allows it to rise and have good time to rise, where a flatbread doesn't use yeast, therefore it's flat, doesn't rise. So we're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And we're going to do a flat level. We're measuring with our heart spoons today, guys. You know, I say measuring with the heart. Sometimes we don't use spoons. Today, we're still measuring with our heart, just in spoon form. Very cute. I'm nothing if not consistent. And then we're going to take a teaspoon of sugar. Here, okay. And then we're also going to do a teaspoon of salt. So you want the saltiness, right, for seasoning, and you want the sugar to help balance out the flavor profile. All right, we're just going to give that a nice little mix here. Mix it all up so it's all incorporated. And then we're going to create a little well on the inside of our bowl, which is basically just like a hole in the center. And we are going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Okay, so that's 1 and 2. And then we're going to do 3/4 cup of water. I do have a cup in here just in case you need a little bit more. Like, you know, you never know. Sometimes you need more or less. You poured a little bit extra flour on accident, whatever. So I'm going to do 3/4 cup of the water. Now this is cool water. It's not warm water. Because we don't need the warmth for the yeast like we do, you know, when we are making another dough that needs to have the yeast activated, because you usually use warm water to help it activate the yeast and keep it, you know, warm. All right, so we're just going to start, and now you get a little bit of a shaggy dough, and you're just going to kind of knead that. If you notice that it's not coming together, then that's when you want to add a little bit more water. Or if it's too sticky, right? If it is coming together but it's sticky, you want to add a little bit more flour. All right, so look at that nice kneaded dough ball. And we're just going to cover this up and let it sit for a few minutes while we prep pretty much everything else for our pizza, or our flatbread, I should say. So first thing we're going to do is slice some cheese. And I'm using mozzarella. You could use Monterey here, would also be really nice, but really you just want to make sure you're using a mild cheese, like a mild white cheese. And we're going to use about, let's say 4 ounces, about 1/2 cup. And then I'm going to take 2 corns on the cob. Now you could do like a can of corn if you wanted to, but I just really like the fresh corn here because we're going to be blistering it. And when it's raw, it blisters so much easier than when it's in a can, because then I don't want it to become mushy, you know? So I do prefer cutting it, cutting it and trying my best not to make a mess. I don't know if you guys, but in the Northeast, New Jersey has like the best corn out there. So honestly, and it's because it's so fresh and local, it's cheaper than other places where it might not be grown so fresh and easy. So I'm sorry if you don't have good local corn, but New Jerseyans, we do. And if you're close to New Jersey in the tri-state area, it's worth the trip. And then we're going to take a little bit of our queso fresco. This is a very nice crumbly kind of white cheese. You can find it in most grocery stores. And we're only going to take about a quarter. And this is actually going to go on right at the end. But you see how it just crumbles? It's like feta or, a crumbly goat cheese or blue cheese. But that's what you're looking for. You could also use cotija cheese if you wanted to. But I like the queso fresco for the flatbreads. So we're going to save that for later. And then in addition to that, we're going to clear my station here. Make a crema, or like a drizzle, for the top of the elote. Now this is where a lot of your flavor is coming from. And it's just really packed with deliciousness. So you're going to take a quarter cup of sour cream. Okay. And then you're also going to take a quarter cup of mayonnaise. So let's measure that out. Okay. So a quarter cup of mayonnaise. And then you're going to add some spices to it. We're going to add a little bit of cilantro. We're going to do about a teaspoon of cilantro here. Dried cilantro. You could do fresh as well, even better. I just don't have any fresh at the moment, and dried works just as well. If you had fresh, you'd probably use a little bit more because the flavor is not as concentrated. We're going to do another teaspoon or so of chili powder. Okay. And another little sprinkle of salt for seasoning, probably about a quarter of a teaspoon. All right, I'm just going to give that a nice mix. Now you could use tajin as well if you didn't have chili powder. If you didn't want to use chili powder, you want to use tajin instead. Tajin is like a nice little blend that's actually more traditional for the street corn to be placed on top. But chili powder works just as well. Give it a little taste. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay, so now we're going to switch places. Get this extra corn out of here. And we're going to take our flatbread. And we're going to just kind of mash it into, actually, I'm going to roll it. I'm just going to roll this out. And you're just going to make it until it's about half an inch to a quarter of an inch, kind of all the way around. Just like that. All right, we'll put it back on our pan. And then we're going to add our cheese. All right, so we're going to take our corn. We're going to take our flatbread prepped over to the stove, and we'll put it together over here. Okay, so we've got a cast iron skillet here, and I'm just going to turn it on to like a medium-high heat, like in between. And I'm just going to get this hot. And I like the cast iron because normally when you have elote, just plain elote, you put it over like a grill or a flame. And I could do that technically. I have a gas stove, right? So I could just put the corn on the cob directly over the flame if I wanted to. But some people don't have gas stoves. So I wanted to make this applicable to everybody who watches. And so I like the cast iron because it gives us that like char type of feel without, the grate of the grill, basically. Okay. And we just put it right in, and we're actually not putting any oil in the pan because the corn has a lot of moisture, and the oil will basically not really add anything to it. Like the cast iron's already seasoned, and seasoning a cast iron skillet actually means that you do prep it with oil as it is. Like when you first get a cast iron skillet, you'll want to season it. And maybe I'll do a video about that, because I think that's important for people to know how to take care of a cast iron so that it doesn't rust, and then it doesn't, that you have that seasoning, so that way you just don't have to add a ton of oil every time you use it, which is it's a good lesson. Now this isn't going to take long because it's off the corn, off the cob, and I'm just kind of blistering it, meaning bringing it to where some of the moisture comes out of it. Because if we just put this on top of our flatbread without doing this step, what'll happen is, for one, you won't get that kind of like charred flavor that's very signature for elote, but also the moisture itself will stay on the bread, and we don't want that. We want it to be crispy and not soggy, right? So that's the goal of this step. And you're not seasoning it, right? Because this is just to blister and not, you know, necessarily bring anything different besides just bringing out the natural sweetness of the corn, which is helpful. Okay. And I like to stop when I start seeing kind of like little brown marks start popping up on the corn. Now, because I'm going to be picking up this cast iron actually to like just scoop them onto the dish, I'm going to get my little cast iron handle cover. These are very important because cast irons get hot the entire way, and if you touch this, it will burn you. This is what we're looking for, because they are going to brown a little bit more in the oven, right? So I got my cover here for my cast iron, and I'm just going to kind of, you know, try to sprinkle it if you can. It's a little bit tough, obviously, with, you know, a pan. But I'll spread this out a little bit. Okay. Do that, and then I'll just kind of spread this out here. And then we're just going to cook this in the oven for about 15 minutes or so, and it's going to cook the dough and melt the cheese, and the corn will get a little bit more blistery. And then when it comes out, we're going to finish it up, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay. See you guys in about 15 minutes. Okay, so it's actually been about 20 minutes since we put the thing in. I did check it at 15 minutes, but it wasn't quite ready. I didn't have this beautiful golden crust on it. So now we just can transfer right onto our cutting board. One of the benefits of parchment paper. And then we are going to put our crema that we created. I put mine in a little squeeze jar. If you don't have one, that's okay. You just spoon it on. But this just kind of gets it all nice and over it. Okay. It's on the edge. Don't worry. We'll look that up. Alright. Then you sprinkle your queso fresco on top. And I know it seems weird, cheese on cheese, but has there ever been an issue with that? I mean, I don't know. Not here, not in this house. So you just crumble it nice and on top. Okay. And then squeeze a little lime. A little lime wedge right over. And slice it up. Okay, and this is going to cut into 6 slices. All right, nice crispy edge. Ooh, cheesy. Look at that crumb in there for that flatbread. Nice and airy. Oh my gosh, it's so hot, guys. It just came out of the oven. I have to try it though, because it's just amazing. The sweetness of the corn and that little bit of heat from the chili powder and the crema and the lime just really brightens everything up and adds a freshness. I promise you, it will not go wrong. I only cut this up into 6s because my husband's pretty much going to eat this entire thing. I'm going to make a whole nother one when you make it for another group of people. You can cut it up even smaller for little appetizers. It's a great party dish, especially for Cinco de Mayo coming up. So 10 out of 10 recommend. You like and follow my channel for more recipes like this. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one. Bye. Oh, but make sure you're not burning that on a flame. Thank you for joining us. Why did you take your earrings off?
Because I didn't want another one, so I took another one.
Okay, I'll get you another ones in a minute, okay? Give me 1 second.
No, I already get some.
Okay, I'll put them on in a minute, okay?
Okay.